One that I'm struggling with right now is even the ability to put myself out there. If it's something that you want and you spend time on it, then you're selfish and you're taking away from all the other places you should and supposed to be putting your energy into. In the event, at the end of the day, after you've taken care of all of the things that you shouldn't supposed to take care of, if you still have energy, then that's when you can work on yourself. That's when you should work on yourself, because that's when the working hard really comes in and pays off. You're doing all this other stuff, and if you only have an hour left at the end of the day that gives you like 2 hours sleep maybe, and that's when you're doing it, or you're choosing to not sleep at all, then you're really grinding, then you really want it. But anything else is like selfish, and how could you? You're not showing up for your family, you're not showing for anybody other than yourself. Who do you think you are? I'm working with that one.
We'll make it out and fall in love tonight.
What do you think was the best moment for you? I always start off with like really hard questions, huh?
Are we starting right now?
Let me pull off this question for you. What do you think was the best moment of the past 15 years of your life, Stephanie?
Oh my goodness.
And go.
Well, the best moment was the present moment right now, because I'm working really hard on presence, and it's all about now. And there is nothing other than the present moment. So I am focused on that.
I know that I tried to explain this thought to you the other day. I'm having a lot of these like really deep experiential thoughts about time and all sorts of different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's that thought of like, time's an illusion. It doesn't really exist, which I am 100% on board with.
Okay.
Meaning I'm embracing it. I have believed it. That's how I move through life. And so then I start thinking about the way that thought exists.
Okay.
And the way that we have thoughts in present moments. And really thoughts are the only thing that we quote unquote time travel with. Because when you're thinking of something about the past, something that happened, something that took place, that thought and you are still existing in the present moment. And the same thing happens when you're thinking about the future and you're imagining something that may or may not happen. That all is still taking place in the present moment. So it just really like this, aha moment for me that I had, that I'm thinking about now, that took place back in the present, or at some point.
Somewhere on that line.
Somewhere in the space-time continuum really solidified my idea. And it's not my idea. I came up with it, by the way.
Yes.
That time's an illusion. No, but it just really helped me in thinking about like, oh yeah, it all is just happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's so easy to get lost in that scope of like, well, I'm thinking about the past, I'm remembering it, I'm feeling it, I'm reliving it. Like that neuroscience thing where they tell you that your brain can't differentiate between a memory or reality. So if you're thinking about something or you're bringing it forth and your brain is operating like it's really happening,
Mm-hmm.
again, it's just proving that time is an illusion. Everything is now.
Okay. Are we thought sharing? Like,
were you thinking the same things?
No, but I'm listening to, I'm on a Eckhart Tolle rabbit hole, and he's getting like really in the muck of this. And that's why I was like talking about the beginning when you're like the favorite moment. I'm like, now, presence is now.
He's getting into the weeds with it.
Yeah. And he's talking about how when you're looking at past, and whether it's like it's a memory chain that you're connecting to. So it's making it now. And when you're working with time, it's either, how did he put it? Oh my goodness, I just had it and it's going to go. Come back to me, Mr. Tolle. It's like to clock time. I'm going to butcher this because I can't remember in the moment, but it's either like clock time or mind time. And that's like when you're aware of the moment and you're working towards something and you're allowing it to be and being present in it, or like subconscious or psychological time, which is when you take something from the past, or here's a better one. When you take something from the past and you make it mean who you are now, then you're on the psychological, because you're still connecting to that. And so it's all this warp instead of taking something from the past and learning from it now, which is a difference. I'm doing a terrible job. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Anyways, it's like right along the things. It's kind of blowing me away. The things. Because you've been saying this for a while, and then I hear these like people that
Echoes.
right? The echoes,
I
but
love that you're calling them echoes.
I like the echoes.
I think it
I
makes
like
a lot
the
of sense.
echoes.
But yeah, you're
I
hearing it
like
a lot.
but it's just interesting how it keeps coming in those different ways. I've got it from, um, Gay Hendricks and now Eckhart Tolle, and there's just coming on these different ways that are repeating these things, talking about Einstein time and being just in the presence of it. So it's all coming through in this way that you're saying all this that you've been saying it.
Right.
And I wish I could quote it better
Does
to
it
give it
connect
some
with you?
validity, but I'm just over here like ping pong in my thoughts.
How does it land with you when you think about it?
I'm trying really hard to make it land, and I'm getting a lot of really good practice. And I'm practicing now moments a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting the awareness very frequently to like what's happening now. And it's just like silly little things that are really profound just because I'm in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about, when you're in the moment, there's not problems. He had one where he talked about, and it's
Is this
funny.
Eckhart?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of got me because you were talking about like the tornado warnings, right? And he's like, I might be going off track here, but it's kind of funny.
I love how we're like tornado warnings.
Right.
We're just laughing. It's so fun.
We're laughing because we understand the context behind it.
We love living in a place where
right?
there's tornadoes.
So the tornado warnings come on, and I'm like, we're paying attention. I'm paying attention to our tornado watch guy. Like, I don't know what to say. He's not a newscaster. I don't know what to call him. Our severe weather alert person on Facebook that we
there's
love.
an amateur meteorologist who has it's not a private Facebook page, but he's got a Facebook page and he posts a ton of not posts a ton of content. He posts specifically around storms and can do all sorts of like
just
storm
in his area. Like so if you're not in our area, it doesn't really pertain to you.
If you're not in Southeast Tennessee or Northern Georgia, then he doesn't give a shit about you.
So I'm like paying attention and you go to sleep. Mm-hmm. And it's like all this. And then we have this stuff. You're like, well, if something happens, then we'll act. But if nothing's happening, then why are we acting? Why are you just waiting? I'm like, because we got to watch it. It says tornado watch. I'm watching. Tornado warning, sirens. Woo, So, and then he talks about being like the healthy fear. Mm-hmm. Like, is there, there's a healthy fear you got to be aware of so you don't do something. And he's like, that's not healthy fear. It's not, being afraid of doing something. It's if you're not fearful of putting your hand on the stove, you just know that if you do it, it burns. Yeah. So it's not about teaching fear about it. It's knowledge. You don't have to be afraid of it. You just know, oh, don't touch the stove. Yeah. And if you touch it, then you address it. And so then he went on to like being in a life or death situation. And he talked about how in a life or death situation, you're not in fear, like you're in action. Mm-hmm. You're in action. It's like, and it's either you survive it or you don't. There's no fear. You're in action. And it's what comes after and the replaying and the fear and then projecting in the future of it happening again, where all the fear comes in. And so the false time of reliving the past, projecting into the future, because right now you're not in that space. And I'm just sitting here like, okay.
Right.
Okay.
The challenge is to just be here now, right?
Right.
Old Ram Dass.
Right.
Telling us from the get-go.
You've got be here now, and I've got Eckhart's telling me the power of now. And it's like I've read it and it didn't quite sink. I think it's one of those where you're reading the words. It's like it puts it someplace in your brain. Sometimes you read the words and you're like feeling it, and it's just not time, right? But I've read it and I didn't think it was that profound of a book, right? It didn't land. Uh-huh. And I'm listening to it and I'm listening to him talk about it. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Just kind of funny that it's been mentioned a few times in our space the last couple of months. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've read that book. Feels like a book. And now listening to it, I'm like, oh, and it's hearing your words coming back through his mouth. And I'm like, damn it. So you were right, Craig, at least at this point in time.
Everybody, we're going
At
to end
least
the
at this point
podcast
in
right now.
time.
This podcast is over. We're done. We're going to wrap it up on the date and time that we are recording this. This will be the final podcast ever.
You know,
Because
when you say that, you speak it into existence.
that's a joke. That was just a joke. That was in the past. Be here now,
That
folks.
was right now. The podcast is still here. We're still here.
Podcast is still going
We're
on.
here.
Right. It's still happening.
Tea break. Tea time. Pop your pinky.
Pop your pinky.
These drinks, we don't little teacup. We tea mug.
It's because we're done with the cough.
We are done with
the coffee. You want to talk a little bit about your effects that you've had from being done with coffee?
I just spent the first 20 minutes talking. I think
Maybe
it's your
we've
turn.
been recording for about 5. But yeah, we can call it 20.
I can't see it over there.
5 minutes.
I like to help with time.
See, you got to be here.
But I can't see it over there unless I put my glasses on.
This is halfway through the month of April. We are done with caffeine, not just coffee, but with caffeine.
Those are two different things. I didn't connect those.
Some of us forgot that caffeine exists in other things.
I just was like, I can quit coffee, fine. But then you talked about,
It was so funny, baby. You were like seriously hiding packs of smokes all over the house.
I didn't even know.
It was hermiting away and hiding caffeine in purses.
I wasn't hiding them. I just had them handy.
Just handy everywhere you go.
Accessible everywhere.
Have you noticed any big shifts? I was talking about this on Brave Men with Ben, and it was like, I feel like it's not out of my system enough yet for me to really notice any major shifts.
Yeah.
But I do I do feel like I'm not getting the crash in the afternoon.
Yeah.
As much. The last maybe week, a little less than a week, it does feel like I'm not, dive bombing in the 2:00 hour as much as I used to.
Okay.
So that's a benefit.
Yeah.
Got more energy throughout the day.
That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good. I don't know that I'm noticing yet. This past week has been kind of a crash and burn for me. So
yeah, well, you've been sick.
Been out. But I feel like I've just had, I've quit it before.
You really quit it before, though? Or do you think you quit coffee like you thought you were?
I quit because I wouldn't drink aspartame.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have that in my system. So for every once in a while, I would introduce those. And then I don't know what happened, where I was just like, aspartame, smashpartame. I'm drinking it. And then that's where the problem, it's probably not caffeine, it's probably aspartame. That was the nicotine.
Right.
The nicotine pulling me in.
The problem was caffeine.
Okay, well, maybe.
We have been drinking caffeine all of our lives.
I still don't want to admit it's a problem. I still want to snuggle up to it in the future. I'm like, caffeine's waiting for me to give me a nice big hug when I'm tired.
I think it's like anything else that we've been addicted to, where a little bit's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. A little bit's fine.
I don't caffeine little bit.
Exactly. Right. It's one of those that we can't just ease ourselves into. I could pretend we could go to lunch and I'll just have a soda. I mean, it'll just be a soda. It's not a big deal. And then I'll fill that soda up 4 times while we're at lunch, and then take one to go with me. And the next, I'm on that fucking train again.
Right.
Chugging along. I'm like, soda's not bad, actually.
They're probably saying there's caffeine in tea. Not this tea. It's caffeine-free tea.
Yes, we're very conscious about the tea that we drink.
So we're still doing it. Also, I don't know, it's interesting. I have a resistance to it.
To what?
Having caffeine. I'm like, how am I supposed to function without caffeine?
You seem to be doing okay. Maybe that's part of what your crash was this last week.
We've been off caffeine for a long time.
I know, but that's the thing, is it takes a while.
Every time I have anything, you're like, caffeine. No, we've been off for like a month. I didn't crash last week for caffeine. What is it?
It's maybe the 3rd week of April. So it's only been a little bit.
We started before April because we ran out of coffee, remember?
Maybe we have not been off for a month. And I don't think you're really giving credit.
Time is now, Craig. Why are you making it so linear? Time is now. It's like there's no caffeine in this system.
Have you thought about how long you've been on caffeine now? Because when I thought about it, it wasn't like originally I was thinking about it through the lens of just coffee. I'm like, well, I've drinking coffee pretty much since I was 20-ish, right? Became kind of like a normal coffee drinker, every day kind of thing. And that has just been consistent for, the last 25 years of my life. But then I started to thinking about, it's not just caffeine. I've been drinking soda since I was a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since I was a little boy,
Right.
I've been drinking soda. And yes, there's been times in my life where I quit soda, right, for the few years here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that I have been on caffeine since I was a child.
Yes.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Woolly. Let's talk about what's in your clothes. Most fabrics today are loaded with synthetic fibers and microplastics. And every single time you put them on or wash them, those tiny plastics are shedding off into the air, into the water, and even into your skin.
That's why we love Woolly clothing. Their apparel is made from all-natural merino wool. No microplastics, no synthetics. Just high-quality, comfortable clothes that work with your body and not against it.
And merino wool isn't just soft and comfortable. It's temperature regulating, moisture wicking, and naturally odor resistant. So you can stay cool in the summer, warm in the winter, and fresh all day long.
Plus, it's biodegradable and sustainable. So when you choose Woolly, you're not just upgrading your wardrobe, you're making a smarter choice for the planet.
Right now, listeners of the podcast can save 15% off of everything over at Woolly. Click the link in our description and be sure to use promo code Steph Craig to get that discount.
Wear better, feel better with Woolly clothing.
So that amount of caffeine in my system and everything, like it's blown out the doors of all my adrenals, I'm sure.
Right?
Right. It's so just incredibly flooded, and like it's going to take a while for this nervous system to regulate and to come back down and find some new level of homeostasis, normal, quote unquote, without this drug that it's been using for the past 44 fucking years, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if my adrenals function without stimulant.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're going to bed. Same since I was a kid. Like yeah.
Have you ever thought about that?
Well, not till you just said it that I'm like, well, shit.
Right? It's a
I
big
think-
deal.
I think caffeine has been longer than food issues when you put it that
Ooh,
way.
You think so?
Because caffeine since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Little. Like
drinking
still
soda.
in the sugar substitute. Still in my parents' Diet Pepsis and Diet Cokes.
Yeah.
And they're like, didn't we just buy a 12-pack? I'm like, I don't know, did you?
It's on you. It's probably.
Right? You guys should really watch how much
Because you're
soda
getting
you
old, you
drink.
can't remember shit.
Dumping Coke cans because I'm midnight drinking. Why can't I sleep? Yeah.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
You got to
Maybe
give yourself a little bit of time.
give yourself a little bit of time.
I have been.
Quit poking it at me. Just because you weren't as addicted to caffeine as I was. Just
I
because
was
you didn't
100% as
have little
addicted as you were.
squirties hiding all over the house.
Yeah, I just
Little powder
would
packet.
drink a pot of coffee every morning and then
I
follow it up with
know.
energy drinks and or soda throughout the day.
I know your energy drink was a new one. That was something that
It's
I
not
had
new. I used to
I-
drink them all the time when I was a cop.
that I haven't seen
Oh, yeah.
since you were a cop.
Since back in the day.
Yeah, since
Well,
back when we
Celsius's
needed
were
monsters
healthy.
to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
Celsius's were the healthy energy drink.
That's what I always say. Pick the healthy one. We drink those ones with stevia instead of aspartame.
hmm
Solid.
So
Good for your body.
I'm really excited to see what the version of Steph Craig is without caffeine.
Really?
Yeah.
You're really excited for it?
Yeah,
Well, I'm so
so
glad
excited for us. I'm so excited for us to like finally get to
Yeah.
this place in our life where we love ourselves enough to start treating these bodies with love and compassion and, you know, feeding them good things and healthy things and going to bed at a decent time and
All that
not
good
cramming
stuff.
all sorts of different drugs into our system
I have
in
a
order to
question
keep
for
us
you.
going.
Do you think B vitamins are healthy?
I think so.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Do you think ginseng is healthy?
Yeah.
I've got a
You're just
I've
gonna
got a
replace it?
loophole. I'm not going to replace it. I'm just going to put healthy things in my body that help keep me focused and help tame my squirrel brain. Keep me focused.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? The avatar and the way that it requires so many different things and gets addicted to so many different things. I think it's all just distractions.
Right.
Yeah. Keeping us from the reality of time doesn't exist and you have to be in this present moment. And you're like, this moment sucks so bad. I want to
You know
go
why
somewhere
sometimes-
else. How funny is that? That
Mm.
the struggle to be so present that you're just living from moment to moment, and yet we'll still get lost in the past or we'll go to the future because for whatever reason, like now isn't good enough.
Or create not even a future, I guess a future, but create like a scenario and like play that shit out as like you're doing a one-man show.
Yeah.
Like when you're taking a shower, It's so hard for me to stay present in the shower and just really I have to focus and do something else. You would think washing your hair, but no, no, no. I focus like on energy work, I focus on weaving, I focus on the water rinsing away. And as soon as my mind slips just for a second, if I'm not playing something, I go into a scenario. I create a situation and then walk through it. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not good.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what are you doing, brain? It didn't happen. Why are you creating something that stresses you out? So even like that, I'll create something else instead of enjoying hot water and having a nice shower, which makes you feel better. How about you?
When it comes to what? Focusing in the shower,
Sure.
I have no problems.
How about this
I
moment?
don't listen to podcasts constantly.
I love listening to stuff in the shower, so it's really hard to not.
Yeah.
I've been trying not to.
Yeah. My meditation game has been coming along,
Yeah.
right? It's definitely one of those things that I want. I desire more time and more practice. What was that smile for?
I just realized you're probably like, stop clicking the lid. I found a
Oh, I didn't
fidget,
even
and I'm
hear
like,
it.
you didn't, so I can keep doing it.
No, don't do it. It's super distracting now that you pointed out. As soon as I heard you,
You would have heard it on the edit.
I don't know. Who knows? We'll never know. I want to talk about subconscious programs, babe.
Let's do it.
It's one of those things that I have been hyper aware of lately. They've been massive in my space because I told you this one the other day where it was like, oh gosh, do you remember what it was? It was the whole inner child thing that I was experiencing. And
wasn't that long ago, but I'm here now, so I don't remember the exact.
Look at you. You're nailing it. No, it was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I had this awareness where I'm looking at all these unconscious programs and the things that I want to shift and change, because so many of them, it's like unpacking your past and going into inner child work and all these kind of different things, and then learning how to love those parts and how to support those parts. And that process for me, I feel like I've gotten that down pretty well, right? It's one of those things that I don't really, when I say I don't struggle with it, it's kind of like a go-to for me now. It's my default almost to some extent, where as soon as I have awareness, we had a big one on our way home from our honeymoon.
Yeah, say it.
Anniversary.
Right. I didn't even know she called it a honeymoon.
Right.
I kept calling it a honeymoon. I loved it.
That one rocked me. I don't know if I want to get into that. That one was pretty fresh.
Okay.
It was a vulnerable one for me to kind of like, we can get into it. It's a good example. Okay. No, because it speaks to exactly this thing of like the subconscious programming.
Okay.
So if you watched last week's episode of the podcast, we recorded it on our way home from our 10-year anniversary. So it's it's not live. We didn't do it live, but we're driving in the car. It's really, really fun. It's a fun episode. And we talk about 10 healthy things that we need, or that anybody needs in relationships. So not 10 healthy things, 10 things that you need for a healthy relationship. And the whole experience for us was really, I don't want to say it was uncomfortable, because it wasn't uncomfortable. We had fun doing it, but it was a little bit stressful. Yeah. And it was also on the way home, which meant we were kind of like tired and kind of had, it should have been like a relaxing kind of decompressing ride home. And of course, instead, like, let's do a podcast. We got to create content every step of the way. It was a good idea. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
But leading up to it was a little bit of like getting the camera set up on the dashboard and making sure everything was positioned right, and making sure the microphones were working. And that process takes a little bit to kind of fine tune and tweak so that it, is it's something that we can use rather than just like sounds of the road. And that stresses me out, doing all of that kind of technical setup for it. And I have this old program the old program, the original program, like the base programming, is actually like super old from childhood. It's like one of the original programs that they used when they built Craig. And I didn't realize that's what was being sparked. But you and I have these kind of old stories that we dance back and forth with. And one of them is that you don't want, like, I annoy you with wanting to create content. Like, you don't really want to do the podcast sometimes, and you don't really want to be in that space, and it's like a bother for you. I'm putting you out in a sense by wanting to do this stuff. So that was getting triggered in the back of my mind. And we start doing the podcast and we're rolling and we're, driving along and we're talking. And then we had a moment where, see, I can't even remember the specifics of it. Do you remember what we were talking about that triggered you? I said something that upset you and triggered you.
No, it wasn't upset and then triggered me. It just, I thought it just caught me off guard. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. I thought we were like doing fun stuff. And I was like, okay, I gave you a fun one and you gave me one like that I really need to look at. And it sucked because I was kind of like, oh,
you thought we were doing fun stuff.
And
we weren't.
Right. It was one that it was like, oh, okay, here's
That's
something
right. We
for
were
you to look at
about stuff.
And I was like, and it just kind of hit. And so then I was like, okay, I'll look at that. And that's not, so it was that thing of like, oh, okay, just kind of, I wasn't ready for the gut punch.
Yeah.
And then I had to digest the gut punch and it was okay. I just needed to. And then everything I said after that, you were like, why are you got really defensive. And I'm like, why are you defensive?
Yeah, I thought, because we unpacked this on the way home to some extent, but a lot of it was all my shit. It was all me.
You got really defensive. Step one, don't use you language. I felt very attacked. I don't know what to say at this point. I didn't feel attacked.
Yeah, but when you got, like when that thing happened, when you got triggered, I immediately started becoming hyper-focused on everything. Yeah. So I didn't realize it at the time, but I was in an activated state. My nervous system was activated at that point. So I go into like the hyperfixation on everything that you're doing. So I'm hearing all of your words through these triggered, activated ears. And because I was, feeding off of some extent that narrative that you didn't really want to be doing the thing that we were doing, then I was feeling like I was putting you out. And then when I said something that upset you and triggered you, I feel like I've done something wrong, and then I have to try to fix that. And I didn't really understand what was taking place and all of it, because essentially what happens is I start people pleasing, and then people pleasing turns into resentment, and all of these things take place it was a great episode, by the way. None of this took place on camera. All of this was subconsciously happening to us in the background.
I mean, you might see it now that you know this. You might be like, oh, that's the spot. Okay, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. And, truth be told as well, I don't feel like I was being after the fact. I don't feel like all the things that you're being defensive on, I don't feel like I was being attacking, but I did have a mindset. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how we're going to do this. So there was like a part of me that was bringing forth like less joke and more. So I can see how I was like, well, I'm going to say stuff too in the background, in the subtle bit. And you're like, I feel like you're attacking me. I feel like you're just pointing right at me. Like, really? So there was like, it had to be coming up like both ways in ways that I couldn't see, especially because I remember your reaction the first time. I was just like, what? I don't even remember what I said. I'd have to go back and watch, but because it just caught me so off guard. But so there could be something there too. And, we both were just slinging it. I can't be like, oh, look at you. I had no role in that. You were just being defensive.
Yeah. We were definitely both in activated states, trying to record a podcast in our car by ourselves on the way home from our anniversary, which is kind of funny when you look back at it and think about it.
Well, it just totally makes sense. We were exhausted and I was about to go to bed and not get out of bed for a week. It was coming on and hitting. So we were both really, really tired. It was good, but we were really, really tired. Yeah. And it was a long drive.
So all of that's taking place during the episode. And then we get done with the episode and immediately kind of address whatever happened. And we start talking about it. And we started spiraling down that path of like, you're the problem. I'm not the problem. And you're like, I'm pretty sure you're the problem. I'm not the problem. And we kind of went back and forth like that for a little bit. And I recognized, like, there was a moment in our conversation because I could tell that I was really angry. Like, I was starting to get that feeling. I've had awareness of this feeling lately. And it's like when I get really angry, like I feel like I'm not being heard, and I feel like I'm not, like my thoughts, my feelings, what I'm trying to communicate and express and say isn't being validated, isn't being seen, I'm not being heard. That activates something inside of me. And I've noticed it lately, and I can feel it coming up in my body. So that started happening. And
today's episode is brought to you by Heritage Still. Let's be honest, your cookware matters. And if you're still cooking with mass-produced non-stick pots and pans, you're missing out on better flavors, better durability, and better craftsmanship.
That's why we went with Heritage Still. All of Heritage Still's cookware is manufactured right here in Tennessee. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just ironclad stainless steel designed to give you exceptional heat control and long-lasting performance.
Whether you're a pro in the kitchen or just learning your way around, Heritage Still makes your cooking easier, more precise, and more enjoyable. One of the biggest benefits of going with stainless steel cookware from Heritage Still is you won't be exposing yourself or your family to those toxic chemicals in that nonstick cookware.
And right now, for listeners of the Steph and Craig Show, you can save 10% off everything at their website. Head over to heritagestill.us/Steph and Craig and be sure to use promo code Steph and Craig at checkout to save that 10%.
Invest in cookware that lasts a lifetime. Heritage Still, chef-grade cookware for less.
Part of me that was also able to like hold enough sanity outside of the activation to recognize this is a little extreme. You're feeling very strongly for a situation that doesn't quite apply.
How strongly were you feeling?
I was upset.
Yeah.
I was very upset. I was getting to the point. There's sometimes when we're driving.
Oh.
There's sometimes when we're driving where I'm just like, I'm going to pull over and get out and just walk.
Wow.
And it doesn't even matter where we're at.
Okay.
Like I always play it out in my head where I'm like, I'm just going to get out and walk. I'm taking my cell phone, I'm taking my water, and I'm going to get out and walk. Yeah. And I had that thought when we were driving, and we were like, 2 states away from where we live. So I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'll be fine. I'll just walk home. And that's totally like my little kid brain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I did that in my first job. Have I ever told you that story?
Probably, but remind me.
It was Zuka Juice at the time.
Okay.
Was the company,
Twilla,
was the
right?
brand. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the juice bar, Jamba Juice. It's the it's the place you go get the yummy smoothies. And I just left. I just walked out of my shift. Like I don't remember the context of exactly what was happening, but I got upset. And my solution was like, I'm done, and I just walked home. Because I don't even think I had a car at that point. I don't think I had a driver's license. So like my mom probably dropped me off, and because, she wasn't going to come pick me up until my shift was over. And I was like, I'm done. I just walked home. So that's funny. I haven't put the pieces together that's like my my problem solving from childhood was like, I'm just going to pull over this vehicle and get out and walk home, even if it's 3 states away.
Right? My default is if you pull over the vehicle and get out and say you're going to walk home, I'm sliding in the driver's seat and I'm driving away.
I know.
Like, enjoy your walk. That's terrible. 2 states away. I'm like, he said he'd figure it out.
So I recognized that I was highly activated, and it didn't match the situation. Because essentially we had just had this beautiful experience of our anniversary, and then we had a fun time recording this podcast, and whatever was triggered inside of me was, so I had to sit in that.
It was really odd. There was that spot of where it was like it came up and I told you how I felt, and then you got upset, and we're like, I feel like you're not hearing me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're like, I heard you. I'm like, did you? Did you? I was pretty upset too.
So I had to sit in it.
Yeah.
And in the process of sitting in it, I was able to kind of like unpack that part of the process of recognizing where I started where activation started for me and what it was connected to. And we both were kind of talking through some of the things together as far as like what was triggering us and what was taking place kind of like subconsciously and behind the scenes, in a sense, leading up to the moment. And we hit upon that, so it was sparking some of that old stuff where I feel like you don't always
Yeah.
want to do stuff, and I have to force you to be on the podcast and all these kind of old things. And so I could feel that was a component of it. But then the quieter I got, I just like sat there and kept like being with that, I guess, emotion or that moment. And I realized that all of it was coming from this really old program of the people that I love don't want to spend time with me. Like it was immediate that it was like, it was sparking this thing where, you know, you're the person that I like love the most in the world. You're like you're you, right? And I felt like you didn't want to be with me. And so it sparked all the abandonment, all of that stuff was what was really at the bottom of all of this emotion. And so I got an opportunity to feel into it and grab that little boy up and love him up and make sure that he felt loved and safe and everything was going to be fine, and did all of that part of the healing process that I'm so grateful that I, have started doing consistently with inner child work. But then I also just started to think about it through that lens of like, some of these deep wounds that I have are just programs. Yes, some of the wounds and things like that are connected to trauma and connected to experiences. But even that, I'm at the point with it now where I recognize them as programs. That's the easiest way that I can put it, right? Because I'm thinking about everything through like the lens of the Matrix a lot lately, where it's set up in such a way and structured in such a way and blah, blah, blah. It's all programming. And I have these programs built into me that are running subconsciously in the background. And so the other day I had another one that I don't remember this one that was the other day that we had a conversation about just a few days ago, but it was the awareness of like every time like a core inner child wound is sparked, it's going to be connected to a program.
Right.
Where it's going to be something is running subconsciously in the background. So I can do the work of inner child work and being with that part and listening and loving and supporting and showing up for that part. But then I can also start the reprogramming process so that I can replace that program. And a lot of this comes from the neuroscientists. I'm going to pull them up because it was on Mind Be Alex podcast. And I don't remember his name, but he's a neuroscientist dude. So I know that it's, people are going to know who we're talking about when I mention his name.
Well, while you're looking them up, I remember when you like had that connection of how you were feeling, of feeling like I didn't really want to be there, didn't want to spend that time with you, didn't want to do the podcast, and you were just like all of that abandonment and rejection was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you were like, when you were able to communicate that to me, it was like, oh, everything made sense. And it just took the steam out of everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like feeling that way. And we were able to work backwards in that sense and connecting those dots of like, oh, it makes sense from this being here. This was triggered, this camera, this, like just all the ways that your body almost, it's like the cheat codes on, like they used to have cheat codes like up, down, left, right, A, B, whatever on the video games, right? Yeah. It's almost like when you pull in some of these factors, your brain says, I know what's happening. And it says, choom, jumps you right to that part. And then that program gets kicked, that wound, that inner child gets like, oh, this is what's happening, and pulls it front and center. So that totally made so much sense.
Right. As soon as we can see it, as soon as we can
recognize?
Retroactively.
Oh, I'm like,
that's a tough word for me. Damn near killed him. So the episode of it was a Mind Be Alex podcast, which you should go listen to. It's a good podcast. By the way, if anybody knows Maya, I want to. She needs to come on the show, and I want to interview her on the show. Bruce Lipton, he's a cell biologist, and he talked about how to reprogram your subconscious. And in that episode, he talked about children from not even birth, but before birth, like inception, at some point along the way where they start to be cognitive of the experience of what's happening inside the womb, right? Because you're affected by so many different factors and variables, but they're in this like programming phase even before they're born, all the way up into 7 years old. And the reason why they're so programmable in that time period is because their brain is still processing and developing and growing and everything, but they're in that theta wavelength. And he talked all about like the different wavelengths that your brain will go into and how we operate. And I don't know if we operate in beta or delta or alpha. I don't remember all of them, but it makes so much sense to me because I mean, we've seen it with our kids. We all experience it. It's like kids are just sponges. They're just absorbing their surroundings and their information. So it's like that real small window of time from, birth until 7 years old, where you're being programmed with the programs that you will then use subconsciously to shape the rest of your life. And that just made so much sense to me, where it was like, oh, yeah, duh. And I've heard it 1,000 times. Like we've talked about it so much through the lens of like IFS and trauma and, all these experiences that have shaped and molded who we are and how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves and everything like that. But this guy just breaking it down in such a way, I was like, oh, it clicked so many different light bulbs for me. And then he talked about how simple it is to just reprogram that subconscious. And it's like as soon as you have awareness of one of these subconscious programs that takes place, then you replace it with another one. So I've started doing that work in the way that he talks about it because it's developed in childhood. Are you okay? Here we go, babe. I feel like I just said something that upset you. No, you're activated.
No, please keep
Everybody's going to get a replay. The way that he talked about reprogramming it is when you go to sleep at night, you'll naturally go back into that theta wavelength. Like there's a phase of sleep where you drop into that and you can just reprogram the subconscious at that point. So positive affirmations and different things like that you can listen to when you go to bed and everything like that. So it's a great episode and he goes into more length about it. Go find it. But what my takeaways are from that, because I'm constantly doing a lot of like what I would call reprogramming work, where I'm writing the same things every morning when I'm journaling. I'm got all the affirmations that pop up on my phone all day long. And so now when I identify one of these like subconscious programs that are still in operation and I catch it, and I'm catching it through the lens of like this inner child work that we're doing, because I recognize that it's sparking something from my past and that past experience is coming forth in the present moment and all of this stuff is happening. I catch it. I like hold on to it. I recognize it. And then I just replace it with a program that I want. Like it's just in my brain, it's just this incredibly easy process of like, oh, I'm just going to change these programs. I'm no longer going to be operating off of these old programs that I was either given or that I absorbed during that early phase of my life when I was, just at the mercy of the world around me, the people that, were literally programming me, obviously subconsciously, not knowing it, with all of this kind of bullshit and stuff. And I just want to replace it with good stuff and get to choose what I want to replace it with. What's your thoughts, babe?
High five. Absolutely. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we do get to, it's like that part of once we start being controlled by the program, participating in the program, we get to be the programmers of what programs we have. And just bringing that awareness to what is happening. I'm going to look at it. And when I look at it, then I can really start to see it and unpack it, and then I can change it. I see where it's coming from. I see what's going on, and I see what it needed in that space. And then to bring that back up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's been, we've also been, well, you were listening to Esther Hicks for a long time. And I would hear you listening to her stuff. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like really catching me, but I would hear you listening to it. And then I don't remember when it was. It was recent when I started listening to it as well. And she talks a lot about, all of her stuff's all about manifestation and, mm-hmm. Being like the reality is everything that you want and create, and all of it is like now it's all here. It's just your resistance to it, right? It's that whole thing of like, as soon as you let go of, because she has this funny thing where somebody asks her like, okay, like how long will it take? Will it take as long as it takes until you believe Like, it'll take as long as you believe it will
Yeah.
take. He's like, well, how long will that take? It's like, as long as you want, like, the process.
As long as
You just get to eventually decide that, oh, wait, it's now. I don't have to wait any longer for these things.
Yeah.
So that has been playing a lot in the background of my mind as well when I think about this whole thing of like the programs that I have about life and about success and about happiness and about money and about all of these kind of different things. It's suddenly like the curtains pulled back and I'm just starting to see them all so much clearer.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Routine. We've been on the hunt for an electrolyte powder that we can add to our water each day, and we're excited to tell you that we've found it. Morning Routine is a special blend of organic lemon, apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, and all the other essential electrolytes that you need for each day. Morning Routine is also non-GMO, it's organic, it's dairy, gluten, sugar, and soy-free, keto-friendly, 100% vegan, and made right here in the USA. It's made with organic lemon and doesn't contain any synthetic dyes or preservatives. There's also zero sugar, which blew me away. I tried it for the first time recently when I was outside doing yard work on a hot day, and it seriously made me feel like a kid again because it tasted like a fresh glass of lemonade. Right now, listeners of the podcast can save 10% off anything at Routine. Head over to yourroutine.com/StephenCraig and be sure to enter in the promo code StephenCraig at checkout to get that 10% off. Start your day off right with Morning Routine. Your body will thank you.
I'm starting to see them through the lens of like the shit that we have been told that gets repeated over and over and over again. Like one of them that really stands out to me lately that I've been thinking about and working with, it's hard work pays off.
Yeah, you've been talking about that one a lot.
Right.
Mhm.
Because it's this clear program that gets repeated over and over and over again in society so that we all come to this belief that the way to reach your goals in life, the way to be successful, the way to do all of these kind of different things is to work hard.
Mhm. Or to suffer.
Right.
You have the suffering artist, you have to suffer.
Yeah.
You have to suffer, you have to work hard.
Yeah. And what if it's just all bullshit?
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
if you want to do it that way,
you
do it that
definitely
way.
can,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
What was the thing she was telling the story to? Let's see if I can get it out because it was so profound for me in the moment. She was talking about everybody that is successful in life has the point where they would look back and they would talk about the effort and the struggle and how they worked really, 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 really hard and had to continually, do all of the hard work and the determination and never quitting and never giving up and the struggle and the suffer and the suffer and the struggle. And then finally it happened. And she said, when it finally happens is when you let go of all of that stuff. And they would look back and say, that was the stuff that got me to this point. And she's like, no, what happened when you let go of all of that stuff? And it was just like, oh my gosh, it made so much sense to me because I have this story and this program and this narrative that it's like, I've got to work hard. I got to do all of these things. Like, and if it's not working out yet, it's because I'm not working hard enough yet, or because I'm not determined enough, or so it's just this like self-defeating narrative and program in order to keep me stuck in this loop and this consistent cycle and pattern of never getting to the end because I'm not working hard enough. And I can see that, like, now that I can see it and I've been sitting with it and looking at it, that it is 100% programmed from like capitalism and from keeping people at work, right? It's like you got 20 years and then you're going to be able to retire one day. And then you get to live this life of relaxation and joy and freedom and all these things, but only if you work hard and save and you do your time, day in, day out, grind, then you eventually get this reward at the end.
Yeah, it sounds like a prison sentence.
It's totally a prison sentence.
And then you get out. And some people can't even get out. It's like that whole thing where you get institutionalized and then
wow,
they have to
it's
stay
totally
in
a
it.
prison sentence.
They also, on the flip side, have the thing of like, what connotation do they put on people that don't work hard and just have it? Like, you didn't work for that. You didn't earn that. You just had that given to you. You don't deserve that. So it even takes away if you're in a space where you're not seeming to struggle, then you're criticized for that. So you're like, well, I have to earn. I can't, like, I have to be in a lot of pain and I have to suffer and it has to be really, really shitty. or else I won't deserve it. And then you still stop yourself from feeling like you're deserving it and earning it. And not yet, not done struggling yet, not done struggling yet, not done suffering yet. It's that whole loop that continues and continues and continues. And I do the crazy. I do that. Like I immediately started like, it's crazy. You know, that's a really good thing of like when you talk about the loop in your head, that it's just like this crazy loop.
Yeah.
This like the definition of sanity, right? Is the
Doing
doing
the
the
same
same
shit
thing,
every day, expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
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 Can you think of any other kind of like, I know that this is a really big topic and it's
Yeah.
like these subconscious, like I said, these subconscious programs are hard because they're not on the surface,
Yeah.
right? They're really subconscious. But can you think of any off the top of your head, not necessarily that you like fall into and that you're struggling with, but are some of these really BS ones that we are all given and programmed and that we think mean happiness and success, right?
One that I'm struggling with right now is even the ability to put myself out there. And so one that's coming up a lot is I chose the word courage, and the universe said, here you go. So one of the ones that is coming up is it's feeling like one of the combative things is if you do take the time for yourself, you are putting yourself out there. You are spending the time on yourself that you're selfish. And that anything that you're doing that is for you, for something that you want, for your dreams, for anything that doesn't have to do with, is this for my family? Is this for my partners? Is this for my kids? Is this for my parents? Is this for my boss? Is this for my friends? Is this for anybody else? If it's something that you want and you spend time on it, then you're selfish and you're taking away from all the other places you should and supposed to be putting your energy into. And in the event, at the end of the day, after you've taken care of all of the things that you shouldn't supposed to take care of, if you still have energy, then that's when you can work on yourself. And that's when you should work on yourself, because that's when the working hard really comes in and pays off, because you know you're doing all this other stuff, and if you only have an hour left at the end of the day that gives you like 2 hours sleep maybe, and that's when you're doing it, or you're choosing to not sleep at all, then you're really grinding, then you really want it. But anything else is like selfish, and how could you? You're not showing up for your family, you're not showing for anybody up other than yourself. Who do you think you are? I'm working with that one.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Do you think that one is more, I think, because I don't, when I think about these programs, I don't tend to think of them like, you know, ones that are masculine and ones that are feminine. That one feels more feminine in a sense. That one feels like women experience that one more. Because I mean, I probably have that one to some extent. I mean, I have the reverse maybe, or the flip side of it, where it's like my responsibility is to provide. And if I'm not providing, then I'm not worthy of love. Like if I'm not giving you something, and I don't mean like, I mean, literally, it's like if I'm not keeping a roof over your head and food on your plate, then I'm failing as a man. I'm just not worthy of, you know, your love. I'm not worthy of society's love. It's just like, that's my sole purpose, is to provide. And I just have to do that forever. Like there's not a point in time. I've thought about this too, where it's like, because I'm like, we're in our 40s right now and we got a long life ahead of us. We got some exciting things we're going to be doing. Like life's a beautiful thing for us, right? But the idea that like I have to carry this weight of like, it's my responsibility to provide for us for the rest of our lives. Like we got 60 plus years still ahead of us.
You're like, baby, start drinking caffeine again. I need you to shave this down. I'm tired, right?
No,
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that was harsh.
But it's like,
yeah, that's
things,
insane.
Right?
That's an insane amount of pressure.
It's so stupid too. Because I mean, it's just not reality.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? These are so silly.
Right.
Yeah.
They're ingrained, they're deep.
I'm excited that we're shifting them up and changing them. I'm excited to find more. Do you know what I mean? I've been really curious about, I want to see more of them. I want to feel more of them. I want to understand more of them.
Ask and it is given.
Right? So then we can shift them so that
right?
we can change them.
Yes.
Yeah. We're curious what your subconscious programs are. If you have awareness of any of them, please share them with us. You can go follow us everywhere that you find people like us. Actually, we've started recording these episodes on Facebook Live. So if you're not already following us on Facebook, you should go check us out there. And then you can jump on and watch these episodes being recorded live. We're having fun doing that. Also, you can work with both of us. If you go to our website, there's information there. stephandcraig.co is our website. Steph's doing prism light weaving. You should definitely go check it out. Do you want to speak to it at all, babe?
Okay, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up.
We need to do a full episode on the things that we're offering now.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
Get into it a little bit.
And then you.
Yes. And you can also work with me if you're interested. I'm coaching again. So if you're down and you're interested and you want help, please reach out. And then
you should definitely do that.
Substack. Oh, and we don't mention it enough because we've been podcasting forever. But like, if you're not aware too, like this is our second podcast that we've done. We had another podcast that we did for 8 years called Energy is Love. And you can still find that on our YouTube channel. But we forget to remind people that if you like the podcast, share the podcast with somebody, send this episode to somebody, and rating the podcast, leaving a review on the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to, whether it's iTunes or Spotify. All of those things really help the podcast. This is what we do for work. This is what we do for our life, for our livelihood, for our living, because we love it so much. And you can help us by doing those little simple things. And if you want to help us even more, go buy some shit from the sponsors of the podcast. Those are companies that we like, brands that we work with, that we really use, that we really appreciate, and that we're passionate about. So, you know, get yourself some Woolly or some stainless steel pans, or we've got a bunch of different things, but that helps the podcast as well. So there's lots of different ways. And yeah, expect the best.
Plan for the greatest.
Just take a chance, we got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me, we were meant to be.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. You've made it all the way to the end, and we are so grateful for you. If you have a moment, you could take time to like, subscribe, and share this episode. It really helps us. And also, if you liked this episode, which you're still here, so you probably did, you might like these clips too. And again, thanks for supporting the Steph and Craig Show. There's new episodes every week. See you next time.